Hello and welcome, everyone. My name is Megan Moore, and I do welcome you on behalf of the Center for Functional Nutrition. Our mission is to better people's lives and to be a force for good in the world. And this is one way in which we practice this. And we're delighted to have you all join us again. We've been away for a couple of weeks, so it just feels really good to be here again with you all. So I'm going to hand the Zoom CoffeeHouse over to Brian. And Brian, please go ahead.
Awesome. Thank you, Megan. Welcome, everyone. Our featured presenter is just coming on. He'll be with us in a moment. And in the interim, it's absolutely wonderful to be back with everybody. We did have a few weeks off. Maybe some of you also were on vacation, hopefully enjoying time with family at the very least. So we are really excited to bring this back and to connect with all of you. And we have a really exciting event lined up today. Some of you may be familiar with our featured guest. He is Carl Wergyn. He just joined us. There he is, Carl Bennett, depending on how he presents. So some of you may recognize him. This is his second time. He is back by popular demand. And just very briefly, Carl is a medical intuitive. He's also a Reiki master. He's also a wonderful human being. And we're just so grateful that he's come into our community and into our circle of influence. Again, our mission is to better people's lives and be a force for good in the world. And we feel very blessed that through our mission, we have met people like Catherine Taylor, who have introduced us to people like Carl Bennett. And we're growing something very special here together. And this coffee house is a great place for connection and growth and learning. And we're very excited to hear from Carl. And without further ado, Carl, welcome. And for people who might not know you, and for those who are getting a second look, who are you and what are you doing here in our coffee house? What do you have to share with us today?
Well, first of all, I hope you all can hear me. I'm trying out my new wireless earbuds here today.
We can hear you.
That sound good?
You might, Carl, if you can move your camera a little to the left so the window's not behind you, it's a little bright. Can you move your seat a little bit?
Yeah, I was afraid. Let me just scoot here a bit. Is that a better shot?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Does that work for you?
That's a lot better. Thank you very much. Okay. Awesome.
Oh, yeah. So yeah, anyway, what I do for people, maybe I should back up and give the backstory here, the history of it actually. I started off becoming a Reiki healer. And that happened to me around the mid-1990s when the whole New Age movement was kind of coming into place. And suddenly people were using all this vernacular I'd never heard of. So I happened to be visiting a New Age shop, and someone there said, "You should be a Reiki healer." And I said, what the heck is that? Reiki? What? Well, I did some research on it, and as time went by, I got through all the levels of Reiki, became a Reiki master teacher in the year 2000, and was practicing Reiki and training people on Reiki healing for quite some time. Until about 2007, roughly, when I had one of the Minnesota Vikings football players approach me and ask for a Reiki session. He'd actually had some extensive damage done to his knee from playing the game. And he was probably not going to get back on the field again for perhaps another 2 seasons, 1 season at best. They predicted 2 seasons that he could not play. So we tried to get our schedules to sync up so I could do the actual laying on of hands, Reiki thing, that you do. And we just couldn't physically get together. So I finally said, why don't I just do one of those absentee healings for you? I can do this by a distance. He agreed to it. And so I said, all right, I'll give you a call tomorrow and see how you're doing. So I went in and I started doing the Reiki ceremonial type of stuff to get in and do a distance healing sort of thing that you do for people in Reiki. And instead of getting into that Reiki world of doing healing, all of a sudden I was like miniaturized and dropped into his body and in his knee. I know this sounds really crazy, far out, whatever, but this is what I saw. So I went into his knee and I saw the torn cartilage. I saw the scar tissue. I saw the erratic blood flow. I saw the inflamed tendons. I saw it all, as if I was a little bitty on a fantastic journey, kind of thing. And then I witnessed, best way I can describe it is like the hand of God came and started fusing together the torn cartilage and started dispersing the scar tissue. It just fluttered away like confetti. And the blood flow became regulated. And what was radiant, red, inflamed tendon tissue became a nice, healthy, off-white color. And I just was kind of blown away by this. And so the next day, I'm kind of left with this information, as you can imagine. You're thinking, I'm just going to send this guy some energy, and we'll see what happens. And instead, you have like the eyes of a surgeon and the understanding of a surgeon, and you witness this divine finger come in and fix things, right? So this is what I'm left with. And the next day, I call him up, and I have no idea what I'm going to say to him, of what I witnessed. But I said, hey, how you doing, man? Did you feel anything? He says, yeah, I think I might have felt something, but okay, I'll let you know. I'll let you know how it goes. Okay. Well, 1 week goes by, 2 weeks go by. He calls me up and he says, Carl, I don't know what you did. What happened? What happened? Because I've been to the team physician, I've been to the team therapist, I've been to my own doctor. My teammates, the fellow Vikings and football players are all scratching their heads because I'm about ready to get back on the field. Everything is fixed. What happened? Now remember, he wasn't supposed to play for 2 seasons, 2 years. It was more like 2 weeks when he could play again after doing this. So I kind of explained to him as best as I could, and the best way I can understand how to translate it and say what was going on. And he thought that was really interesting. Well, ever since then, word kind of got out that that this is something called medical intuitive, or in the or more evangelical Christian world, is probably more something as a title of holistic intercessor. So I kind of go by 2 different titles there, depending on what you'd like to hear. But since then, it became this sort of thing that I do, and I haven't actually gone back to doing Reiki since. So I've had quite a number of clients all over the country, and lately, Brian, thanks to you too as well, there's a lot of folks I've made contact through the CoffeeHouse. A lot of really good New England. I refer to you all to my wife. I refer to you all as my New England people. So all of you from the Boston area and Jay from Arizona, and all kinds of people I've worked with, from because of your CoffeeHouse. I really thank you for that. That really helps to spread the good word. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome, Carl. The story is so impactful in many, many ways. I think for me, you did something really incredible in your very calm, genuine way to allow this big world of spirit, and however that shows up for for anybody, or if it even shows up for anybody, you allowed it to, at least personally between you and I, when I first did my interview with you, it was like, all right, I'm going to allow this to make sense, and I'm going to allow that this is possible, because I think at least for me, when I kind of step into that world, it can be very big and it can be very kind of like, wow, I'm not really sure about that whole world, and maybe it's a little bit
Yeah.
scary. But the way that you kind of just very calmly said, look, this is what it is. I can't really tell you more than what or how it shows up for me. And, you know, when we did our work together, it was beyond you and I. And I was very clear about that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, you know, maybe you could give another example for everyone here, kind of how that happens, where you're connecting with someone on the phone. The only thing that's connecting the two of you is this advanced technology of, you know, cellular,
Yeah.
you know, phones that expand, and just kind of how that unveils for you when you're in conversation with someone.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Yeah. So how a session typically goes, and most all the ones that I do are over the phone. Unless you all want to come to the Twin Cities, you know, and spend a weekend here in Minneapolis would be great. But but no, I do this on the phone, and so I always ask people, you know, a nice conversation too, you know, and whenever I work with people. And we have a pretty good, nice conversation, but during the course of the conversation early on, I ask, well, can you tell me, you know, because basically all of us can list probably 100 things about ourselves that we'd like to have fixed, right? You know, can you tell me the number one thing? Can you tell me what's the first thing on your
Hey, Brian, it was showing on my computer that Carl's bandwidth was low. Hopefully he'll be back.
Yeah. Until Carl comes back, and Carl, I don't know if you can hear us, but you went off for a second there. And I'll just kind of continue on for a second. I'll share a personal testimonial with Carl.
There we go.
Brian, he's
Are you
back.
back? Okay, great. Go
Okay.
for it, Carl.
I don't know what happened.
Continue on.
So anyway, when I'm on the phone with somebody, I ask them for that one thing that's on their mind that they want to have addressed. So because you've told me that one thing, then I have something to kind of go on. But what's interesting is that I'll go into meditation on that one thing that you've told me about, and I'll see that, and let's say it's a sore muscle in your left shoulder. I'll see that. Okay, so that left shoulder up here, I do see inflammation in the actual muscle there, and then there's this nerve, the thing that's happening that comes down to your spine. So then, you know, and I don't want to give too much away as a possibility for anybody, but I mean, basically what happens is that there are some layers to the onion. And so you're consciously aware of your shoulder muscle right here hurts. But what I'm seeing is that, oh yeah, that hurts because it's inflamed, and it's because of this, because of that, because of that. And actually began when you were about 16 years old, and maybe I think you had a bike accident or you stumbled or something, there's something that tweaked in your back, whatever. You know, things like that start coming through to me. And I have to say that sometimes it's like, I call it opening my mouth and letting God come out. But anyone who's watching, and Brian, you know, you can kind of attest to this. If I've done a session for you, there's a point in there where I'm just like, blah, 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 blah. I'm just spilling information, and it just comes from the divine, you know. But I start spilling information about you, and in most cases, the people I'm on the phone with are like, I didn't tell you that. How did you know that? But that's what comes through, and you know, and sure enough, it's true. But you can trace back to how this thing up here, or what have you, actually occurred many years ago, and now it looks like this up here. And there's a few other things going on. Should we talk about that too? You know, so that's basically how the session happens. Now, in the course of me seeing what's going on there is a healing that takes place, and I still witness the hand of God or the presence of something. Oftentimes, I'll see I feel it's the Holy Spirit, but I see it as like a silvery waterfall. In some cases, there are times when I'm working with people and I'll see the silvery waterfall start to come in and come on their head, and it's like it has to cleanse the whole system. It has to cleanse the whole body. So I mean, it sounds strange. So that's really a New Age thing, right? No, it's how I see the Holy Spirit. It's like that's what I can describe as a silvery shower, a silvery waterfall. Comes in and cleanses you and protects you and so on. So oftentimes that'll happen, but every time I go into the meditation and I begin describing what I'm seeing, I am also seeing that thing that I'm describing being healed. So there's a healing that actually begins to take place when I'm in that meditation and talking to you. And just about every time too, after all that has been explained and described, that I will also get information about something that you can do after we get off the phone to maintain the healing. And it can be anything from a change in supplements or diet or activity or a thought process or a habit or walk your dog twice a day instead of once a day. It could be anything. It could be anything. But I'll get that information from the divine as well of what you can do to maintain this healing and actually help it increase too. And I find that there's a lot of validity in that too, because if you look back at the stories of Jesus, for example, when he was doing healing, he would put mud on the blind man's eyes, but then he told him to go wash off in the pool. You know, there had to be some kind of physical thing that people could see and relate to and do so that they could prove that something was done, you know, something was physically done with the hands to make this happen. So I think that's a big part of what Spirit is giving me too, is that, okay, Spirit has done the work, and now for you to make this really happen and really be permanent and to maintain this work, drink green tea instead of coffee, drink, you know, whatever. It could be anything. It's always unique for every individual.
Yeah, you know, I can really attest to that. Personally, Carl, you know, I'll just share briefly. It was, for me, this was a totally new experience. And I was really kind of like, to be honest, I was like, I'm going to put Carl to the test here. Let's see what's really going on. And, you know, it was simply that. It was one word that I mentioned about something. And in a matter of moments, we went into a conversation about things that had happened that were exactly how they happened. And I have seen top medical doctors pretty much my entire life about this one issue. And I've never gotten clarity about anything. I've never gotten any healing. And in 20 minutes with Carl, not only did I understand exactly how this issue started and progressed and why it was still occurring in my life, I got complete clarity on that, better than any doctor had ever explained anything or even come close to explaining. And I was given a very simple, manageable protocol to continue my healing process that I've taken with me. And it's been exceptional. And that's why I think the work that you do, Carl, is profound. And I invite anybody here to reach out to Carl. He has made it very clear that anyone in our community, especially here in the Coffee House, is more than welcome to give him a call. And before we open it up to Q&A, I think it would be impactful for me and maybe everyone here for you to just share something that, let's say someone doesn't get a personal time with you, but a message from you to just everybody that we can all take with us and know that it's true and something that we can all practice, you know, coming away from this coffee house.
Yeah. I would have to say that probably one of the fundamental issues I think that we all have with our bodies or our lives or really in our lives, I think, is what it comes down to, because so many things manifest in the physical. You know, if we have an issue with someone or ourselves or whatever, and we hold a grudge, or you know, whatever, it could be anything really, but something that's a mental issue always seems to manifest in the body, and it can be any sort of a condition. A common theme that I keep finding with a lot of people that I've spoken to has been getting down to the foundation of forgiveness. And a lot of times that some folks may hear that word forgiveness and maybe it sounds like a really lofty idea, or it sounds even kind of pompous, like, you know, who am I to say I forgive you? You know, a lot of folks kind of struggle with that word forgiveness. But here's the thing I want everybody to take with them. And I say this to a number of folks in my sessions with them too, but I want to tell everybody who's listening. Forgiveness is really more about the practice of getting to a point where you can tell something that happened in your life. You can tell that story without that emotional charge attached to it. You know, if you have an incident where, let's say, you were abused as a child, and to even say to somebody, it still puts a clutch in your throat of, I was abused as a child. You know, forgiveness is when you have been set free of that emotional chain that's holding you down, that's catching your voice, that's affecting your thought patterns, whatever. Forgiveness is practice of being able to, can you say the event? Can you describe the event without the emotional attachment? Can you just report? You can't change the past, but can you act like a journalist? Can you act like a reporter and just say, oh yeah, from the ages of 8 until 11, these events happened to me. Then you can be very calm about it. Now, how do you get to that point? Is that the practice of forgiveness is that whether you're alone, driving in your car, or whatever, sometime when you're alone and you can actually hear yourself speak, you can't just think it, you got to hear yourself speak the words. You have to hear that. Hear yourself tell that story when you're all alone. Do it again. Do it again. Do it again. And time after time, piece by piece, there will be that emotional charge being lifted, so that finally, it's not a matter of saying, oh, I've forgiven my father for all that stuff he did when I was a kid. It's not just that. It's, yeah, well, my dad did this, and yeah, I can't change it. That's what happened. Here's the story. You know, when you get to the point where you can tell that story of whatever's happened to you without the slavery chains of emotional attachment, you've really achieved forgiveness.
Yeah, I think, Carl, that is, I'm very glad that you shared that message, because I do, it's very true. And we are, we can be trapped by our past experiences, and we can be stuck in those experiences, and even be in the present today, but be acting as if we were that 7-year-old or 13-year-old or 15-year-old or 20-year-old, and not be free to be and become as we grow. And
Right.
so that's a beautiful message. I really appreciate it personally. Hopefully, I'm sure it resonated with others as well. So I'm going to close our official session. Carl, thank you for your brilliance and your profound messages. For anyone that would like to ask Carl a question or make a comment, I'm going to be looking across the screen here for anyone that's waving at me. Let's see here. Okay. All right. I'm not getting any waves. Let me see. Okay, brilliant. Awesome. So thank you, Carl. I'm sure that you'll be getting phone calls again.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah.
what we'll wrap up with is what we like to call good news. We always like to send everyone off with a smile, and I'm sure that people are already smiling. But I am very excited to share with you one of my dear friends, Mary Harris, who's also from the Minneapolis area. And actually, I think Carl
Mary
and
Harris.
yeah, you
I
two know each other.
I know Mary. We go way back.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's definitely, you know, Carl, when you said that people could come out to see you in person, I have no doubt that we're going to have an incredible gathering at some point in the future, because there's just so many amazing people out where you guys are. So I do want to introduce you all to Mary Harris. She is a dear friend. She's someone who has brought tremendous light and love into my life the past few years. And she has many talents. And we'll all get blessed with at least one of them or a few of them this morning. So Mary, I'm looking forward to what you're going to share, and I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you, dear. Thank you. The first thing I want to say is good day to everyone. And the second thing, I'm thrilled to be here. And Carl, great to be with you. The thing I want to mention is he's a great drummer too. We performed together.
Thank you, dear. Yeah.
Yep. So one of the things I am is a singer-songwriter. So I'm going to sing something this morning. And the song that comes to mind for me is a song I heard growing up in the Black Baptist Church, This Little Light of Mine. But honey, look around these Hollywood squares, this screen we have here, all this going on. They ain't no little lights here, right? We got big lights. So I like to sing This Big Light of Mine. So I'm gonna do a little bit of that. This big light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, yeah, this big light of mine. I'm gonna let it shine, this big light of mine. I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. At the coffee house, I'm gonna let it shine. All through the universe, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Okay, I'm gonna take it home now. This big light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This big light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This big light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
Woo!
Bravo.
Awesome. Thank you, Mary. That was beautiful. I love the special edition that you created for us today. I love it. Beautiful. So without further ado, everyone, again, this only occurs because of all of you, and we take that very seriously. That's an incredible blessing to have put something into motion and to have you all connect with it and to be here and to grow this with us is exceptional. And we're going to continue to do it. We've got incredible people lined up. I'll give you a little sneak peek. We've got Catherine Taylor coming back next week. So we're very excited for that. And it's just an honor to be with you all. And I hope and know that I see a lot of smiles out there. So let's take those smiles, let's bring them out into the world. And for everyone looking for Carl, I've seen your names on here. I'll make sure you get his information. And yes, Cindy, everyone, Cheryl, we'll make sure you get the correct information. Sorry, go ahead, Russell.
just have everybody, I tried to unmute everybody after Mary finished, but I can't do it. So everybody just unmute yourself so you can all say thank you to Mary and thank you to Carl and
Yeah.
wonderful
Thank
day.
you.
Thank you so much,
Thank you.
everyone. Have a
Hey.
wonderful Sunday.
Welcome.
Thanks, Mary.
Thank you.
Good to see you again.
Thank you.
You too. I love you.
Great. Thank you so much.
Very
Yeah.
nice.
Yes.
Oh, thank you so much, Sherry. Thank you, thank you. She says, this morning's Zoom has taken me from a place of fear into a place of possibility. That's why we do this. Thank you so much for sharing.
Fabulous.
All right, everybody. Have a wonderful day.
See you next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.